Sometimes life can feel like a series of losses, whether it's a relationship, a dream, an opportunity, or even peace of mind. It can seem like what once brought joy has slipped away forever. But today, God wants you to know that nothing is truly lost when He is involved. He sees every tear, every heartache, and every broken piece. And right now, He's preparing a restoration that goes beyond anything you could imagine. What you thought was gone is not gone for good. God is about to bring restoration into your life in ways that will leave you speechless. God's power to restore is beyond human understanding. Where we see brokenness, He sees opportunity. What we think is finished, He's just beginning to work on. So if you've been feeling defeated by the things you've lost, know this: God has already mapped out a plan to restore you. Just as He restored Job's fortunes, giving him double for his trouble, God is preparing to do the same in your life. The losses you've endured are setting the stage for an even greater blessing. Keep the faith, because restoration is on the way. The Bible is filled with stories of restoration. We see it in the life of Joseph, who went from a pit to a palace, and in the life of David, who regained his kingdom after years of being pursued by enemies. God specializes in turning things around when it seems like all hope is lost. So, when you look at your own life and see only what has been taken or destroyed, remember that God is still writing your story. The chapter you're in may feel dark, but His light is just around the corner. Trust that He is at work, even in the silence. One of the most powerful promises God gives us is found in Joel 2:25, where He says, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten." The lost time, the broken dreams, the missed opportunities, God is more than able to restore it all. And He doesn't just give back what was lost, He multiplies it. The restoration He brings is greater than what was before, so don't dwell on what has been taken from you. Focus on the God who can give you more than you ever imagined. His restoration is coming, and it's going to be beautiful. When we're in the midst of loss, it's easy to lose sight of God's greater plan. But remember, His timing is perfect. God often allows us to go through seasons of loss and difficulty to prepare us for something greater. He's refining us, shaping us, and strengthening us so that when restoration comes, we'll be ready to receive it. Think of it like a garden. Sometimes pruning is necessary to encourage new growth. What looks like loss is often just the beginning of a season of abundance. Keep trusting God. He's bringing new life into the areas that feel barren. Restoration isn't always instant. It's a process. And sometimes that process takes time because God is doing something deeper than just giving back what you lost. He's transforming you from the inside out. He's teaching you to rely on Him, to trust in His goodness, and to see things from His perspective. So, if the restoration doesn't come right away, don't be discouraged. Know that God is working even if you can't see it. Your breakthrough is coming, and it's going to be worth the wait. God's restoration often comes in unexpected ways. While you may be focused on one area of your life, He may be working behind the scenes in another. Sometimes we think we know exactly what we need restored, but God has a broader perspective. He sees the whole picture of your life, and He's bringing restoration in areas you might not have even realized were broken. This is why it's so important to stay open to His plan, trusting that His ways are higher than our way. Let God surprise you with His goodness. His restoration is often more comprehensive than we expect. It's important to understand that God's restoration isn't just about replacing what was lost. It's about renewal. He's not just bringing things back to how they were. He's making them better than before. He's breathing new life into old dreams, new hope into shattered hearts, and new strength into weary souls. His restoration is transformative. So instead of longing for things to go back to how they used to be, open your heart to the new thing God is doing. He's renewing you, and the outcome will be far greater than anything you've experienced in the past. In moments of loss, it's easy to get stuck in a cycle of what-ifs and if-onlys. But God wants you to move forward, not stay chained to your past regrets. Restoration begins when you let go of the past and embrace the future that God has for you. It's tempting to dwell on what could have been, but God is saying, Look ahead. I have something new for you. He's opening doors you never thought possible and restoring hope in places you thought were permanently damaged. Your future with him is filled with possibilities beyond your imagination. The key to receiving God's restoration is faith. It's believing that even when things look impossible, God can make a way. Hebrews 11:1 reminds us that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You might not see how God is going to restore what you've lost, but faith says, I trust that God is working even when I don't understand. Your faith will unlock the door to his blessing. Keep believing even when it's hard. The more you trust God, the more you position yourself to receive his restoring power. We often limit God's ability to restore by clinging too tightly to our own ideas of what restoration should look like. But what if God wants to do something completely different, something better than what you've envisioned? His plans are always good, and sometimes his restoration doesn't look like we expect it to. It may come in ways that stretch our faith or challenge our comfort zones, but if we trust him, we'll see that his way is always perfect. Let go of your expectations and let God show you how he's going to restore your life in his way, in his time. When God restores, it's not just a temporary fix, it's a lasting transformation. The enemy might have stolen from you, but God is going to restore in such a way that the enemy can never take it again. His restoration brings security, peace, and a firm foundation. What God restores, he protects. So don't fear that you'll lose it again. When God steps in, he secures your future. His restoration doesn't just bring back what was lost. It brings peace and assurance that what's been restored is protected under his care. You can walk forward in confidence, knowing that God has you covered. In the process of restoration, God often calls us to forgive, not just others, but ourselves. Holding on to bitterness or regret can block the flow of God's restoring power in our lives. Forgiveness is like clearing the debris from a blocked river. Once it's removed, the waters of restoration can flow freely. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting the pain, but it does mean releasing it into God's hands. As you forgive, you make room for God's healing and restoration to take place. Don't let unforgiveness keep you from the beautiful restoration God has planned for you. Let go and watch him move. Sometimes God restores things in ways that don't look like restoration at all. We may have our hearts set on a specific outcome, but God's version of restoration might take a different form. Perhaps he's restoring your peace, your joy, or your ability to trust again. Maybe he's working on the inside, changing your heart in ways you didn't even know you needed. God's restoration is holistic. It's not just about giving you back what you lost, but about making you whole again. Trust that whatever form his restoration takes, it's exactly what you need for the season ahead. Don't be surprised if the restoration God brings into your life comes with new opportunities and open doors. When he restores, he often expands our territory and increases our capacity to receive his blessing. What seemed like a setback was actually a setup for something greater. God is enlarging your territory, increasing your influence and bringing you into a season of favor. As he restores, he's also preparing you for more than you could have ever imagined. Get ready to step into new opportunities and walk through doors that were previously closed. Your restoration is just the beginning. In the Bible, we see countless examples of God's restoring power, but one of the most beautiful is found in the story of Naomi and Ruth. Naomi lost everything: her husband, her sons, her livelihood. Yet God restored her through an unexpected relationship with her daughter-in-law. Through Ruth's faithfulness, Naomi's life was restored in ways she could have never imagined. Not only did she gain a new family, but her lineage became part of the royal bloodline of Jesus Christ. God's restoration is always more than we expect, and he often uses unexpected people and circumstances to bring it about. There's a reason God allows seasons of loss and difficulty. Often it's because he's using those seasons to deepen our relationship with him. When everything is stripped away, we're left with nothing but God, and that's where true restoration begins. In those quiet moments when we feel like we have nothing, God reminds us that He is everything we need. He's restoring our dependence on Him, teaching us that His presence is enough. Before God restores what was lost, He often restores our hearts to a place of complete trust in Him. And that's where true restoration begins. Restoration isn't always comfortable. It often requires letting go of old ways of thinking, old habits, and even old relationships that no longer serve God's purpose in your life. But as you release what's no longer needed, you make room for the new things God wants to bring into your life. It's not easy to let go, but it's necessary if you want to receive the fullness of God's restoration. Trust that as you release the old, God is preparing to fill your life with new blessings, new opportunities, and new joy. Let go and let God restore you in His way. God is not limited by time or circumstance. What you thought was beyond repair, He can restore in an instant. The years of pain, the lost opportunities, the broken relationships, God can redeem them all. He's not bound by the limitations we place on ourselves or our situations. His power transcends time, and He can restore in a moment what was lost over a lifetime. Don't limit God's ability to restore. Believe that He can and will turn things around no matter how long it's been or how impossible it seems. His timing is perfect and His restoration is complete. One of the most beautiful aspects of God's restoration is that it brings joy. Psalm 126:5 says, "Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy." Your tears are not wasted. The pain you've experienced is not in vain. God sees every tear and promises that joy is coming. His restoration is filled with joy that far surpasses the sorrow of your loss. When God restores, He not only heals your brokenness, but also fills your life with joy that overflows your life with joy that overflows. Hold on to that promise. The joy that's coming will be greater than the pain you've endured. It's easy to lose hope when you're in the middle of a season of loss. But remember, God's promises are always true. He has promised to restore what was lost, and His promises never fail. Hold on to His word. When you feel discouraged, remind yourself of the times God has come through for you in the past. His faithfulness is your assurance that He will restore again. Don't give up hope. God is not finished with your story. He is faithful to complete the good work He has started in your life, and His restoration is closer than you think. As you wait for God's restoration, it's important to keep a heart of gratitude. Even in the midst of loss or brokenness, there are still reasons to be thankful. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what you still have. It opens your eyes to God's goodness and helps you trust that He's working all things together for your good. The act of thanking God even before you see the restoration is a powerful declaration of faith. It shows that you believe in His promises even when the evidence hasn't yet manifested. Gratitude sets the stage for God's restorative work to take place. Restoration also requires perseverance. There are moments when you'll feel like giving up, when the wait feels too long or the situation seems too broken. But remember, God is working even when you don't see it. Persevere in faith, holding tightly to His promises. Galatians 6:9 reminds us, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Don't give up right before the breakthrough. Your perseverance will be rewarded. Keep pressing forward, trusting that God's restoration is on its way, even if it's taking longer than expected. One of the most powerful things you can do while waiting for God's restoration is to speak life over your situation. The words you declare have power. Speak restoration, healing, and breakthrough over every area of your life that feels broken. Proverbs 18:21 tells us the tongue has the power of life and death. Choose to speak life. Speak God's promises over your circumstances, believing that what He says will come to pass. Declare that He is restoring your relationships, your finances, your health, or whatever area needs His touch. Let your words align with His truth and watch how they shape your reality. As God restores, don't forget to give him the glory. When your breakthrough comes, when your situation turns around, remember that it's all because of his grace and power. Sometimes we get caught up in the blessing and forget to thank the one who gave it to us. But giving God the glory is essential to maintaining a heart of humility and gratitude. Every restoration is an opportunity to point others to his goodness and faithfulness. Share your testimony of what God has done, and let it be a beacon of hope to those who are still waiting for their own restoration. God's restoration is often contagious. When he restores one area of your life, it tends to spill over into other areas as well. As you experience his restoring power, it becomes easier to trust him in other areas where you need restoration. You begin to see that he is able to restore anything, no matter how broken or lost it seems. And as you share your story, you may inspire others to believe that God can restore them too. Your testimony of restoration can spark hope and faith in those around you, creating a ripple effect of God's goodness in the lives of others. In the process of restoration, it's important to stay connected to God. Prayer, worship, and reading his word keep you grounded in his promises and open to his leading. Restoration is not just about receiving blessings. It's about deepening your relationship with God. As he restores, he's also drawing you closer to him. He's showing you more of his heart, more of his love, and more of his power. Don't miss the opportunity to grow in your faith during this season of restoration. Stay close to God and let him transform you from the inside out as he restores your life. God's restoration is personal. He knows exactly what you need, even more than you do. He's aware of every detail of your situation, every hurt, every loss, and every desire. His restoration is tailored specifically for you, designed to meet the deepest needs of your heart. You may feel like no one understands what you're going through, but God does. He sees you, he hears you, and he's working to restore you in ways that are deeply personal and meaningful. Trust that he is intimately involved in every part of your restoration process, and he's bringing exactly what you need in his perfect timing. As you walk through the journey of restoration, remember that God is with you every step of the way. He hasn't left you to figure it out on your own. He's guiding you, comforting you, and providing for you. His presence is your greatest source of strength and hope. Even when you can't see the full picture, know that he's walking beside you, leading you toward restoration. You don't have to carry the burden alone. Lean on him and let his peace fill your heart as you wait for the restoration he has promised. His presence is the guarantee that restoration is coming. God's restoration is not just about fixing what's broken. It's about creating something new. He's taking the pieces of your life and weaving them into something beautiful, something that reflects his goodness and grace. The restoration he brings is part of a greater story, one that reveals his faithfulness and love. As he restores, he's also creating a testimony that will inspire others and bring glory to his name. Your story of restoration is not just for you. It's for everyone who will see God's hand at work in your life. Trust that he's doing something beautiful even in the broken places. As we come to the end of this message, remember that God is not done with your story yet. What may seem lost, broken, or impossible is simply an opportunity for him to showcase his miraculous power in your life. His plan for restoration is beyond anything you could imagine. He sees every tear, hears every prayer, and knows the desires of your heart. Trust in him with all that you are, knowing that his timing is perfect and his love for you is unshakable. When it feels like you're at the end of the road, hold on to the truth that God is already working things out for your good. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Keep pressing on in prayer and expectation. The best is yet to come, and God's restoration will bring joy and blessings greater than you've ever dreamed. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey of faith with us. If this message has touched your heart, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with more uplifting content. Let's continue to walk by faith and not by sight, trusting that God's restoration is on the way. Stay blessed and encouraged. God's got you in His hands. Until next time, keep praying, keep believing, and watch God move in your life.